Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to make a Christmas house. And I'm going to stick it in a jar. And that probably doesn't sound like much, but just hang around and it's going to be really cute. And I'm going to show you how to do it from scratch. So I start off with some foam core. And of course you have to peel off the paper and sometimes it doesn't come off nicely. And that's my least favorite. But you start with some foam core, and then you cut out some cereal box, and you kind of back your foam core with cereal box, and then you have some nice thickness to your walls. So here I'm just kind of putting together the main structure. I got the floor and one wall, and a pretty terrible rigging to get the glue to dry. And then I'm gonna notch out, I don't know the right way to say this, I'm gonna like remove a section so that I can kind of get it to nest in there. You'll see, just watch. So I take off the foam core that I glued on there. I do it on both sides, and I do it on the bottom too. Then I make a nice little box so it kind of like fits together. Interlocking, maybe? I think it interlocks. And now I'm figuring out a front door and some windows. So I didn't really, this is theoretically 28mm scale, that's kind of what I try to work in, and I'm just eyeballing what looks good. So, seems like a good size for a door, and seems like a good size for a window. I will tell you, I am working with a very dull X-Acto for like half this video, because I hate myself. I don't know. But, here I'm just gluing some fiberboard on the bottom, so that I have a nice base to my house underneath and not just foam. And now I'm gluing on the front. I got some painter's tape so I can still work while it's drying. This tacky glue, it's the quick dry sort. No, actually I'm not using the quick dry. This is the normal stuff, but I do switch to the quick dry sometimes, and it does make a difference, I think. They say it does, I believe them. I'm just trying to get the back to stick here. I probably should have cut the door and windows into this, but I decided not to do that. I did that for the front, but I'm just gonna carve everything in for the other sides. And I've got kind of a bad corner back there, so I'm gonna shave that down a little. Just take a little bit off, a little haircut. And we'll glue it again. I'll stick that back on. And that's our box. Houses are just boxes, especially when you make them out of box. So now I'm just throwing some windows and stuff on the sides. I decide what a good size is and try to make them even across. It's all kind of obvious. I don't probably need to tell you these things, but you get it. I actually lived in a house that's very similar to this house. But it obviously was like normal size, not miniature. I'm normal sized. Small, but I think normal sized overall compared to other humans. Oh, it's Megan. Hey Megan. She's trying to get something. I don't know. She's messing with something over there. She's always trying to get something. The house that I lived in. This was like the front room, and it was like I don't know, it wasn't the dining room. I left the dining area out because this house is tiny, but it's very similar. Just trust me. I'm not going to show you a picture or anything. Just trust me. So now it's time to make some window frames. Obviously, I don't want them the way they are now because they look horrible. They're just cutouts. So I need to measure, which I'm showing you my measurements. I don't know if those are any value to you, but there they are. And then I'm cutting up the little frames based on my measurements. This is my first window. Windows are rough. If you have not tried to make windows, it's pretty frustrating. It's finicky. They're weird. They flop around. It's hard to make them square. It's like an annoying process. That's why a lot of people 3D print their windows now, and I see the appeal. But I'm doing it old school. I'm making a window. I'm lining it up on my little grid there. And then I'm going to super glue it so it actually holds its shape, which is part of the challenge of making a window, is that it takes forever for the glue to dry. I just use a combo of glues and then it dries a little faster. So if you do it yourself, keep in mind to take away what you are going to have added when you butt them into each other. I don't know how to describe that. Do it, you'll see, you'll get it. Make one wrong and then you'll be like, oh, I get it. Take away 2 millimeters. Okay. One of those coffee stir sticks is 1 millimeter. They're 1 millimeter thick. So if you have 2 of them, you take away 2 millimeters total. Anyway, this is how you jam them in the frame. Of course, I glued my fingers together because I have to do that at least a few times. It looks pretty good, I think. I'm showing you how now I've failed and made a bad window because I didn't follow my own advice. But yeah, so that's the window frames. They look pretty good. I still have a few to do, but looks good overall. And I just use a bit of, I think I started with tacky glue and switched to wood glue. I just use that as filler around the windows. And now this house is getting a hat. That's what they call roofs. In some places they call them house hats. Not really. Of course not. I like to just kind of scope out what the roof pitch should be. I just like hold it up and see what feels good. That feels okay, but it seemed kind of dinky, so I ended up adding a little bit more. I don't want a dinky roof. Yeah, that looks right. I need 2 of them, front and back. This is a front gable house. I learned of that at some point. When the gable, this is the gable, and when it points to the front, you call it a front gable. It makes sense, doesn't it? And now I put a little window in it. There's not going to be a room up there, but we could pretend. I'm actually not going to do an interior on this house at all, so. Interiors are hard and they take forever. I'm taking a break from this. So now I'm just making the frames. You just kind of cut them to size. Ideally you get a friction fit. It's just like doing studs in real life. If you can get a friction fit, you don't have to try and like hover it there while the glue dries or whatever. So you really want to make it snug. But if you don't wait until your glue has dried doing those vertical members, they move on you. So I haven't done all of them. As a result, I'm waiting for the glue to dry, but we'll come back to that. So now I'm just sticking on some frames. You gotta have some nice trim on the outside of your windows. That's when they really look polished. Like professional windows on your little craft project. But I don't do miters. That's too much. Maybe I'll graduate and do some miter cuts someday. But this is just a little farmhouse, and I don't know. It feels like I could get away with just like butting these up into each other. Because it's easier. And you just glue it on. More tacky glue. I love this precision applicator. If you work in anything little, it's totally worth it. Just water down your glue a teensy bit, add a few drops of water. It makes a really big difference. So yeah, there it is with all the frames. I think it looks pretty nice. It's just a little traditional looking house. So now it's time to work on siding. And siding, I'm going to make out of cereal box, of course. This is 8mm. I just eyeballed it again. I'm just seeing what looks good. I don't know why I held my gun that way. My glue gun. Some kind of gangster. I like to use a glue gun for this because it dries really quickly, and you just want to be able to blow through this. You want it to stick immediately so you can keep moving on to the next thing without it moving on you. So definitely a good time to use a glue gun. And at some point I'll get to the window. Windows are a little tricky. You just gotta like cut around them. impossible. You just gotta make some marks on the sides, and then you figure out where it will go, and you make a little mark to judge how deep you need to go in your notch. So that's what I'm showing here. I installed siding with a group of guys for a while. I wasn't very good at it. I was the cut girl, which means I made the cuts on the saw or whatever, but I was not very good at it because it's hard. You have to think, because like real siding, you have to worry about how it overlaps. With this siding, this is the best. You don't have to care about that. And I actually loved when you'd be between two windows, or two doors or something, because you wouldn't have to worry about that bit that has to overlap, so you don't have to think about whether you need the good side on the left or the good side on the right. Anyway, I'm ranting. It's not that hard. And if you screw it up, it's a lot cheaper if you screw up some cereal box versus real siding, so I don't do that anymore. I'm done installing siding. It was interesting, though. Now I just keep it to this scale, tiny scale. And Megan is, of course, supervising. She's a really good supervisor. Keeping me moving, making sure I don't get off track. So I think it's looking pretty good. And then I threw some siding up top. And then you just trim it off. You run it long and you trim it off. So yeah, it looks good, I think, overall. I'm happy with it. I also added another bit of stir stick at the bottom of the windows so it looks like a sill, and then I added to the top of the door so it looked like a lintel. Not like the beam, but like, the thing that goes over the door. And now I'm making some corners to cover up my ugly joints at the side. And you just want to be able to make a nice sharp corner, so I just cut the top of the board so that you can fold it over really easily. So I did 2 cuts with a very dull knife, obviously. And then I can get a nice pristine corner. Now I'm switching to the foundation. This is how they normally build houses. You build the house, and then you glue a foundation on the bottom from foam when you're done with the house. Not quite. And you drop it a few times, and that's fine. It's fine. Foam core works well for this. Still that dull knife. Foam core works well for this. I'm gonna get 2 rows of bricks in here, so I run my knife halfway down it, and that gives me my first grout line or whatever. And then you can just notch in your little spaces between the bricks, which is what I'm doing now. Notchy, notchy. And then I'll show you. It ends up looking really good for as simple as it is. Looks like bricks. You'll see it later painted. It's probably easier to see when it's painted. Kind of looks like nothing. And now I'm attaching the gable using some toothpicks. I'm just gonna jam them in there and cut them to the height that I want, and then glue them in, and then jam the gable on top of there. It worked reasonably well. I think this is easier than trying to do a gable from the start. I found it easier. I don't know. It's easier because you don't have to try and mess with this house with an angle on top of it. It's a lot easier to work with a box than a pointy box. So yeah, looks pretty good. I don't like how there's a place where the siding isn't right, but I can't do anything about that now, so I'm just gonna accept that. And now I'm just priming the foam. I want the inside to be dark. And I also prime the bottom. Oh, thank you, Megan. Alright, so this is going to be a little front porch. I'm going to use coffee stir sticks as the flooring for this little porch. I think they are a good size. Only takes 4. So I'm kind of laying it out and gluing them down. I'm working my way front to back, because if I have to cut one, I'd rather it be at the back than the front, because it's more attractive. And then I'm just notching out where those corners are impeding my floor. Words. Words. Alright, so then I throw a little stir stick up there. That's going to be my porch roof, and I'm working on some angle brackets now. So I'm going to put one of these little angles on each side. I'm kind of just building the porch roof like on the fly as opposed to building it separately and attaching it. Seems to have worked out okay. So I'm adding stir sticks all over the place. Put one in the front at the bottom of the roof edge. I added one at the back against the wall. And then I'm adding some supports to go in between to give it some strength and also to give my roof somewhere to go. I gotta be able to glue down the roof material, so gotta have something. I don't know what I'm doing now. I guess I'm gluing. Yeah, I was gluing some stuff. Then I add some little pieces of wood to the side. Again, just trying to make it strong. I don't want this thing to be like flimsy, or I don't want to knock it off or something. So I did a lot of stir sticks to give it some stability. And then I'm gonna make a tiny little roof. Oh, cereal box. Looks okay. I think I decided it's a little long. Yeah, so I trimmed it. But that looks like a good size. And I'm just gluing that down. I'm gonna put shingles on top of this. But I just need a good surface to start. Touching up my edges there. This is gonna be like beadboard. I'm just gonna cut a bunch of grooves into a piece of fiberboard to make it look like beadboard, and then I'm gonna attach it to the porch roof. Porch roof. Underside of the porch roof, so that it will cover up this stuff that I don't want to see. Which is how it was in the house that I lived in. It'll look nice when it's painted, I think. Might not notice it. I'm just filling some gaps now. Starting to look like a house, right? I think it's looking pretty good. Kind of looks like an old-timey Western saloon or something because it's all brown. Now I'm showing you, I got some matches at an estate sale. These are like some dead guy's matches. And I don't know what is with this lady. She's just like dumping a box of matches out on a rainbow. I don't know why, but she's great. I mean, keep doing what you're doing, lady. It's cool. But these matches are like, there's so much balsa. You know, like $2 for a bundle of balsa. No way. I also got these guys, Charlemagne and Ferdinand V. I don't know why this guy had all these novelty matches, but I was really into these guys. They're really cool. So here's one of those matches. I'm just using them for the posts on my porch. And they work perfectly good for this purpose. So if you ever run across any of those long matches and they're cheap, just snatch them up. I don't know if these are any different because these are like from the 70s or something. Or the 80s. I don't know when they're from. They seem old, judging by the design. But hey, they could be new-ish. But the guy was old. This is an old person house. A lot of estate sales are old people. I don't have a problem with old people, just to be clear. It's getting awkward. I'm gonna stop talking. So I just did some painting behind where I'm gonna stick these balusters. Not balusters, posts. So that I don't have to try and be fussy with that later. And then I decided I should paint these posts in advance of installing them to make my life a little easier. And I use wood glue to attach them to the roof, porch roof. Now this is 0.4mm polystyrene. I have sheets of it. It's flexible, but not too flexible. I'm going to use this to start on my porch railing. Railings are hard, but polystyrene is a good way to make railings a little easier, I think. I will show you why, but these are going to be the little cross members that go at the bottom that you put the balusters on. And I'm using this little nubby guy to hold my little cross piece. Don't know all these words. I should learn more words. Now I got some 1mm by 1mm polystyrene strips. Those are going to be my balusters. You will see. They're just like tiny little squares. But I need more nubbies. Megan has an obsession with long pokey things, so she's like whacking at the end of this thing. This is just a strip of balsa, also a square, but I don't know the measurement of it. I need one more baluster post. Ugh. Okay, so these are those 1mm by 1mm strips that I'm making into balusters. That was Megan's tail. It's really long. I definitely recommend, if you're going to build some railings and if you can make them out of polystyrene, get some of this solvent glue. Because it melts the plastic, and as you can see, it just dries really fast. So you just stick them on there, and then it like melts it on, and it's really easy for something that is really hard. I decided I should try and worry about where the center is going to be, although I kind of just got lucky on this one. I think I spaced them pretty well for not planning at all. And now I'm just doing another one of those little strips to throw on the top. And one of my railings is a little short, so it's a little janky, but it's tiny, you know. When is tiny not janky? When tiny isn't janky. I'm sure there's plenty of people who can make really good railings that don't look janky, but a lot of people 3D print these too, because they're like really hard to make. So I'm kicking it old school, I'm making it myself, and I deserve some credit, okay? I don't know who I'm defending myself to right now. I think that turned out nice. It's a cute little porch. I want to go sit on this porch. I'm too big. Now it's time to make a roof. Are you guys excited? It's roof time. I'm excited. We need some decking. I cut it a little small, so I made a bigger piece, and then I used the smaller piece to be an inside piece. So technically, each piece is 2 pieces. So it's a little stronger. It'll dip a little bit if you don't make a strong roof. So that's my tip. Megan is really in the way right now. I'm sorry. She's having fun though. I hate to kick her out. It's not that she's being bad. She's like a very curious kid. Now I'm just cutting shingles. Oh hey, look at that. My little buddies are showing up. If you watched my last video, that was the tile bot. We got a new bot. I didn't want to paint this house, so I contracted this part out to this tiny little guy. He's a cutie, isn't he? Oh, look at that, he's got a little ladder. Oh. Hey, buddy. Yeah, he's doing great. Nice job, buddy. I'm gonna come back and paint the trim later, but it looks good. Alright, so back to my roof. I've got the 2 layers on each side. I'm gonna do some painter's tape with a little gap in between, and I'm gonna throw the roof on top and get some marks for where my edges are. Because I'm gonna add some foam pieces that will hold the roof pieces on, if that makes sense. There you go. And I had to miter these so they would fit a little nicer on that edge. And now I am just priming the roof. Looks nice after you prime it. I'm gonna glue these pieces together. Got the painter's tape ready. Just gotta get a good joint. And then I'm sticking them together. I added a few supports because my roof was floppy. Needed a little more. My supports are a little floppy also, but eventually they stopped being floppy. Alright, so like I said, we gotta paint some trim. I did not get the bot to do this. I hate painting trim, but you know, I'm not made of money. Those guys charge a lot. Anything you can do for yourself, just do it yourself. I decided to paint the porch white. I don't think anyone ever wants a white porch because it would just look dirty all the time, but literally no one is ever going to walk on this porch, so I'm going to let it go. Now I'm just touching up my bad paint job. And now it's time to throw some shingles on that roof. Cute. So again, I used tacky glue here. Guess I wasn't in the mood to do a glue gun, or I actually feel like maybe I forgot. I don't know. Falling on old habits. I didn't used to use a glue gun. If you use binder clips, you don't really have to use a glue gun, so I guess I'm just going that route. I just want to show you guys all the available techniques. Oh no, I know why I did it, because I want to be able to move the piece just in case. Like if you use a glue gun, you can't really change your mind, you have to rip it off. But if you use tacky glue, you can wiggle things around so you can get your shingles to not line up on top of each other perfectly, since that doesn't look good. So I use tacky glue. That's why. And I ran along just so I can have this satisfying choppy chop. And because it's easier. I like it. Looks good. Gotta do it for the porch. Got a little gap there. First, we're gonna build the little, I don't know, ridge cap shingles, I guess. So again, I cut the I cut the cereal box, one stripe across the top, which will make it bend nicely. And then I'm going to cut a bunch of little squares that I can bend nicely. And I'm going to stick those on top, just like you would do with real shingles. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. You get the idea, yeah. This is finicky. This is like one of those finicky things. There's just a lot of glue on the hands, which I hate. It grosses me out. It's very gluey, but in the end, they stick down enough. And now I did the porch too. Now it's getting a coat of gray. That makes a huge difference, right? Yeah. We'll come back and do some airbrushing. Nope. We'll come back and do some dry brushing later. But for now, I'm just throwing down gray. And then I'm going to throw down a lighter gray. But I need some doors right now. And that's what doors look like. There's a little guide in case you don't know what doors look like. And I'm going to try to make that door. Exactly. So I'm going to make 2 pieces and cut pieces out of the first piece. And, well, you'll just see. I don't know how to explain that either. Words fail me. Or I fail at words. Whichever. So I'm going to cut out these little panels. And then I'm going to put that on top of another piece so it looks like they're indented. Whatever. Now I'm going to cut out the part that will be behind, and we'll make it look like there's framing in the window, but there won't actually be framing. It will just be cereal box. Whatever. Here's the door. Here's what it looks like. Now you can make one too. The piece on top wasn't really meant to be smaller than the piece below it. What can you do? I wasn't gonna redo it. Jeez. Ugh, glue. Glue's gross. So this is how you frost your windows. This is just like recycled plastic from, you know, this and that. Whatever we had in the recycle bin. Cut out the plastic, and then you throw some glue over it, and it makes a nice frosty window. I think that looks good. Alright, now it's time for dry brushing. So this brings out a lot of details in the roof, which is nice, because I went through the trouble of cutting 50 million shingles, and I want to be able to see each and every one. So this is how you do that. I got a little heavy-handed on this side, so then I had to go back and do the other side more. But it does make a difference. And cardboard has a really nice texture. Fiberboard does. A lot of detail. And because this is a Christmas house, I'm throwing on some frosty-looking white. I want it to look cold. And I do the same thing for the house. It also just makes it look a little more realistic. You never have just like a perfect paint job. So yeah, that's basically it. It's our outside. And now we're moving on. I'm gonna make a Christmas tree, you guys. And I got these little lights. I don't know why they were silver to start, so I had to paint them, but I got this garland. It's just like wires of fuzziness. And I made a little stand out of air dry clay, and this is a paintbrush stem. Trunk? Yeah. So I'm just taking these garland wires and wrapping them around the trunk. And that's about the easiest way I can think of to make a tree. It's not a great tree. It's an okay tree, I would say. The top fell off. We'll glue that on. It's an okay tree. The bottom also fell off. We'll glue that on too. It was just falling apart the entire time I was making it. It's a great tree. I like it. Now, I'm just putting a chimney on this house. For realism. And because I had a chimney. It's just air dry clay. I love the holiday season. I love these cute little Christmas wreaths. It's really fun. I'm just gluing this on the side of the house. I almost forgot to put a doorknob on. And I have these little pieces of golden string. they came with some tiny ornaments. So I decided to put them on my porch railings posts. I got some silver pipe cleaners too. So now it's like a Christmas porch, and I got a Christmas tree. And then I got a little Christmas snowman. This guy's actually really old, and I don't know where he came from. So now I'm going to make a mailbox, and I have a strategy. I'm going to glue down one side of EVA foam, and then when that dries, I'm going to glue down the other side, and it's going to make an arch, I think. I almost glued my pencil down, but it makes a little arch. So that was pretty easy. And then I made a tiny little flag, and I put a back on it, and I made a little door. The thing I forgot to do is that the flag is up, but I forgot to put any mail in there, so sorry. Oh, and I made a little post. That's just balsa wood. Now I'm gonna make some ornaments for this tree. I'm jumping around a little, sorry you guys. You gotta have ornaments. They're just beads. Costume jewelry, old costume jewelry is a great source of all kinds of weird beads. So I made some ornaments. And this is the jar we're gonna jam all this into. And I realized at this point that the bottom of the jar is rounded, and I'm gonna have to put something down there. So I experimented with a few different things. This is tissue paper, like for gift wrapping, and I didn't like how that looked. I tried shredded paper, didn't like that either. I had these beads that go on the tree, but I was too lazy, so I didn't put them on the tree. And these actually worked okay. This step, I think you could stop here if you wanted to, but I needed some, that's what it is, frosty snow. I threw some of that over the top, but I feel like those beads underneath are probably unnecessary for what I do later. You'll see. I don't want to spoil it. But it's looking pretty good. I've got some tea lights inside the house, and I have the battery pack for the tree inside the house, and then I just threw the roof on top so you don't see the wires. And my tree was like way too big, so I had to trim the branches, and it felt like I had made a bonsai, and that part was fun. But then I decide I need another layer because I forgot my mailbox, and it wasn't gonna stand up in the other stuff. So I took it all apart and I put this little felt piece in there so that I could get the mailbox in there. I don't really like how the felt looks, but it did give me some support. Because then I also built a little bush, meaning which I just like made a pile of these branches. And then I threw snow over the top of all of this. So I don't really like the look of the felt, but it did give me the structure that I needed to be able to support some of these other things that I added. So, I don't know. You could probably skip the felt if you do this. And that's it. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I love the holidays. I love Christmas. I love decorating for Christmas. I love coziness. And this is like a very super cozy little scene. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Merry Christmas and happy holidays.